Welcome to Aging Insights. I'm Grace Egan, Executive Director of the New Jersey Foundation for Aging. Aging Insights is produced by the New Jersey Foundation for Aging to provide information and resources to boomers, seniors, and caregivers. The New Jersey Foundation for Aging's mission is to enable seniors to live in the community with independence and dignity. Promoting independence and dignity and quality of life can take many forms. Our Aging Insights programs have addressed a variety of topics, including health, economic, welfare, food security, creativity, and fitness. Today we're going to look at safety on the road. Our guests include Cathleen Lewis, Regional Director of Public Affairs and Government Relations for AAA, New Jersey, and Beth Rolland, an occupational therapist and a certified driving rehabilitation specialist, and she is a clinical specialist at Kessler. Thank you both very much for being here. As you know, over the years, we've done a lot of work on road safety, on older drivers, and so it's very nice to have you here. We did a series of forums that really looked at road design, driver fitness, and brought together national and state experts. So today, I'm really pleased to continue this discussion because I think it's a very big issue. We know that older drivers frequently self-limit their driving, but they save those moments on the road for going to the doctor, for doing grocery shopping, for taking their neighbors out when they need to. So, and I think sometimes the reports about senior accidents are a little exaggerated, but oftentimes they are more severely injured. So I really want to talk about how someone can stay sharp on the road, functionally fit, and so I'm really pleased that you're here. Kathleen, I know AAA does a lot about road safety, so why don't you explain some of the basic programs?
Well, thank you so much. And first of all, I think you're right. I think that when we talk about senior drivers, we think of those horrific accidents, and they're few and far between, because what we know is that seniors are actually among some of the safest drivers out there. Unfortunately, when they do get in crashes, they're more likely to injure themselves, and it's more likely to be some of those sensationalistic ones because they're the few that don't have the resources to stay safe. And AAA's goal is to keep seniors behind the wheel safer longer. And so we have a variety of programs. Some of them you can do from your home. We have a great website called seniordriving.aaa.com where you can get all of our resources. Free, absolutely.
Okay, just
free.
Have to ask.
Yes, and one of the things that we have is Roadwise Review. It's a great program. This is the CD version, but you'll see the same sort of logo on our website, and it's a great tool to keep you sharp. It has exercises. It'll help you assess your reflexes and also help you get better at your reflexes. It will keep your mind sharp. It will give you some exercises if you think that you need to keep those things sharp, so it's a great program to use. We also have a program called CarFit, which is a wonderful program that you can come out to a CarFit site, and we will make sure that you're fit into your vehicle correctly. If you go to our website, you can see this on our website to get more information about the program.
Does it, so it's really something you do with someone else?
Yes, it is. It's an assessment. It's actually a program that was created with a partnership with AAA, AARP, and the Occupational Therapist Association. And what we do is we make sure that people are fit into their vehicle correctly. There's a lot of people who don't realize the tools and resources that their car itself has to keep them safer. And there's also a lot of times that seniors have tried to modify their cars themselves to adjust for issues that there may be better tools for. There might be better things that they can do for that. We've seen seniors that pull up very close to their
steering wheel.
Their steering wheel. And that actually can be a danger because they have to have enough room for the airbag to release. But they've done it because they have trouble reaching their pedals. So there may be a way to fix their pedals so that they can drive safer without that.
I know you and Beth both brought devices.
Yes.
And I think she may have brought one about the pedals. But is there any piece you want to share with us?
Sure. One of the things that we frequently have is that as we age, sometimes it gets harder to get in and out of vehicles. It's one of the most frequent things we hear, particularly if you've had a hip replaced or you have knee problems. So one of the easiest tools we have is this lovely little cushion. Not only does it make the seat easier to sit on sometimes, but it's actually a lazy Susan. So if you have problems getting in and out of your vehicle, it can help you with your mobility to turn you into the vehicle. One of the other things we often have people complain about is that they have trouble seeing out of their blind spots. And so we actually have an additional camera or mirror extender that you can use, and it makes your rear view mirror bigger so you can see more of your blind spot.
I think this would be good for everyone.
Yes, a
This
lot
mirror
of these
in
tools
particular.
are great for a lot of different people. They can, we've got tools that can extend your blind spots. There's ones you can put out on your side view mirrors as well. These tools are great. It's not just seniors that get hip replacements or have knee problems. These can be great for lots of different people. So really, when we talk about our tools for senior drivers, it's because we more often see use for them in seniors, but they can be for anyone.
I think the mirror is particularly helpful when you think about how cars are designed, and I can even think that sometimes, oh, I didn't know that car was there.
Well, and one of the other things that CarFit does is we change your blind spots because we're so used to how we set our blind spots when we were younger.
Sorry, how do you change your blind spots?
Well, change where you're putting your mirrors for your blind spots, because cars have changed. The technology has changed, and so in CarFit we reposition the mirrors so that it changes where you see your blind spots. And it's a great tool. I know when I got trained for CarFit, I immediately went back to my car and adjusted my mirrors.
Well, that's very interesting. It didn't dawn on me. I mean, you can now self-adjust them in the car, but you're right, they're probably not always positioned correctly.
No, and many of us have done it so that, one of the first things I learned was we all, I think, set them so you can see the side of your car. That's how we were taught. You don't need to see the side of your car. That's not what you need to see.
True.
So at CarFit, we go through it, and so you can make sure you're seeing your blind spot, not your own vehicle.
Well, I think that's really helpful. Do you do these programs with community partners?
We do. We do them all over the place. We do them with local JCCs, with YMCAs, with police
a lot
departments.
of alphabets.
Yes.
So you do them with Jewish community centers
Yes.
and YMCAs. I guess that's pretty standard. Where else?
Police departments, local senior centers, whoever wants us to come out and do them, we'll be happy to come out.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll be sure towards the end of the program to tell people how to get in touch to have one of these programs. And so can you go back and describe a little bit more of how your online programs help someone stay mentally alert?
There's a number of different exercises that you do. It's like so many things. It's about mental acuity. It's about making sure that you're staying sharp. It's a series of questions and exercises that deals with not just your mental acuity, but your reflexes as well. So you can use our program Roadwise Review to do that. There's also a variety of other programs on there that can be very useful, and they're tools. One of our programs is called Roadwise RX. Slightly different.
I did look at that one. I thought it was very interesting.
It's a great program. So many people are on a number of medications, whether it's because their general doctor and their cardiologist and all their specialists have, or it's because they take supplements. And one of the things that often happens is that when you have all of those different people prescribing, there are overlaps that might impair your ability to drive. We often don't think about the fact that when we get in our vehicle, our car is heavy machinery. And so any drug that tells you that you shouldn't operate heavy machinery, you should be thinking of your car when you think about that. And so what this allows you to do is put in all of your prescriptions, and it will alert you to the fact that there may be a combination of those drugs that could impair your driving. You take that to your pharmacist or doctor, and they'll be able to tell you if it's something you should be concerned about or make an adjustment.
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting program because I have a little sheet here that I printed out. It talks about medication interactions, food interactions with your medications, driver warnings, which I thought I put in a couple of prescriptions that I thought would make someone drowsy to sort of see what would come up. So it was very interesting. And then there's how to learn more about your medication. And you're right. So this sheet could go to the pharmacist and you could ask those questions.
Absolutely. All of our tools are self-evaluators.
Yeah,
and
this is
so
important.
what you need to do is you can use the Roadwise RX tool, your Roadwise Review scores, or your CarFit assessment checklist, and you can take those to your physician and ask them if there are issues that you may talk about. A lot of times when we do a CarFit, for instance, people talk to us about mobility issues, and we suggest that they go talk to their physician because they may be able to take them to an OT. There may be additional things that they can do. And oftentimes what we find is seniors are scared to talk to their physicians because they're scared that someone will take their license away. These tools give them a great opportunity to say, I know I can still drive. This told me I can, but how can I deal with this issue?
Well, that's why I think it's so important to continue this discussion, not only for older adults, but for families who want a level of comfort that their older relative, their older loved one is still safe on the road. So I am really happy that both you and Beth are here, because as you were talking about an OT, this is the client that Beth sees frequently. So, but I think people are not familiar, Beth, with what a certified driving rehabilitation specialist is. So why don't you explain that
Sure,
certification?
Grace. Most of us are actually OTs. There are some of us who are not, but most of us are OTs because our background
Occupational
is
therapist.
so, yes, occupational therapists. Our background is so well suited for it. We have a lot of background in assessing and treating vision, for instance, and cognitive skills and physical skills and adapting activities. So that's why this is a great fit towards adapting people for their cars. A driver rehab specialist actually has a lot of extended training and experience beyond what a regular occupational therapist would have in driver rehabilitation. And so we are very well versed in looking at different diagnoses, different medications, different abilities and disabilities that might affect driving, and then trying to find a way around them, right, and keep people driving. It is very much our goal to keep people driving as long as possible, as long as they are able to do so.
Right.
It is also our goal to identify people who are at a time when they need to retire from driving and to help them through that process. So another part of what I do is counseling and working them through that piece.
So who certifies you as a driving rehabilitation specialist?
There is a national organization called ADED, A-D-E-D. It is the only certifying body that has a certification exam in driver rehabilitation. The AOTA also has a program. They do not have a specific certification program. But ADED is a wonderful resource also for people. It's a good website to check out. We have a lot of resources for seniors on that website, some fact sheets about driving with various diagnoses and whatnot. It also has a locator so that you could find a certified specialist in your area.
Which is good, because we don't have very many in New Jersey, and you and I have talked about this.
Yes,
So
you're right. It's a rare specialty.
It is.
And I think that we do need to have more. There are a large, especially around the country. Actually, New Jersey is doing better than most parts of the country in this area, believe it or not. We have grown since we talked about it last, but there are still only about 11 of us who are certified in the state.
Which is
so currently
very low
less
number.
than what we need, but we're working on it. Now, I think that it's a difficult specialty to get people to go into because you have to be a real risk taker. I actually do get
explain
in
that,
the car with people. Part of what I do is evaluate them behind the wheel. So I am putting them in a vehicle and taking them out on the road, and you're never quite sure what to expect when that happens. Most of my drivers are very safe, and I have a wonderful conversation with them as we drive, but some are not quite safe.
And you're driving them in their own car?
No, unfortunately, they can't use their own car because I need to have a way to stop the car.
I was hoping that you were going to say that.
So as a driving instructor in the state of New Jersey, I'm required to be able to handle the car and to stop the car if necessary, to intervene if there's an issue. So I do have gas and brake on my side, and I am trained to steer from the passenger side, and for that reason they do have to drive in our car. It's disconcerting at first, but most people, by the time they drive around the parking lot a little bit and get used to the car, are usually fine. You know, usually if someone is really with it and still, you know, has all their faculties, it's only about 10 minutes, I think, time driving on the road before they're pretty comfortable in the car.
Well, it's interesting because it also requires special equipment to do this assessment. But so I think that's just another little factor I hadn't really thought about. So do you need a physician's referral to begin this work with a client?
We do require a physician's referral. There's a number of reasons for that, but one is for everyone's safety. There are some folks who shouldn't be driving because maybe they've had seizures, or maybe they are on a medication that is not safe for driving, and we need to know that the doctor's on board with us taking them out and that the doctor will agree that that's safe for us to do that. So, you know, you can imagine we're taking quite a risk by getting in the car and driving with these folks, especially because most of them have diagnoses that may impair their driving. So we do want the doctor on board.
Sure, I would imagine that's important. And what are the common things that you see in terms of wanting to help someone who wants to optimize their fitness? I mean, Can you give us a
Well, there's
sense?
a lot of different factors. And, our evaluation is in two parts. So first, we're looking at folks in the clinic. Before we get in the car, we're looking at physical skills. We're looking at vision very carefully. We're looking at their cognitive abilities. So a lot of times with seniors who maybe aren't that active, they're losing their neck rotation, right? So
Okay.
it becomes very difficult to check for traffic at intersections. That's something I may find in my clinical evaluation, in which case a lot of these mirrors become very important, right? Because that helps
Right.
folks who lose their mobility. Or go ahead.
Or do you see people turning their whole body when they shouldn't? Or
You
I'm
know,
just
if
curious.
they can turn their whole body, that's fantastic.
Okay.
Whatever they
Sorry.
need to do to get that vision is fine with me.
Okay.
You know, if that's coming more from your trunk, that's great. All
Okay.
right, as long as you can do it, that's
Turn.
great. But
Okay.
I'm identifying things like weakness in the hip that might make it hard for people to get from the gas and the brake. And so, for instance, sometimes you see folks who say, "It's very hard for me to get my foot from gas to brake, so I'll just use my left foot on the brake and my right on the gas," which is really not safe. And New Jersey won't license you that way. If you go to take a road test, they will not allow it. So if you're having trouble
got
getting
it.
back and forth, you really need some intervention to maybe come up with a different way to drive. And that's part of what we do as well. So for instance, if the issue is only in the right leg, having trouble with maybe your hip, or maybe you have neuropathy in your right foot from a diabetic standpoint, we can teach them to drive with their left foot. So this is one piece of equipment I use a lot. All right, so this is what's called the left foot
one
accelerator.
second. Is this what you were talking about before when someone couldn't
No,
reach?
not exactly.
Oh, it's different.
There's extenders that I was talking about. There's
Right,
pedal
and
extenders.
we do work with pedal extensions. Also, I have those, and I can practice with those in a car with a client and figure out what length they should be and whether the person is safe to use them.
this
This
is
is
different.
actually changing where your gas pedal is,
Oh.
right? So normally your gas pedal would be here, your brake would be here. And now what we're doing is we're putting this pedal in, the roller is moving the actual pedal in the car. But now this is in line with your left foot rather than your right. It takes quite a bit of practice, okay? It's not something you just throw in your car and drive with, but if this is what's gonna keep somebody driving, it's a great option, and I train lots and lots of folks to use this pedal. Another option, if you're having, say, neuropathy in both of your feet, would be to drive with hand controls. I don't have an example of those, they're harder to show. But that would
They're on the
normally
steering
involve
wheel?
doing gas and brake with your left hand, and then you would have a steering knob with your right hand so that you could get all the way around the wheel without re-grabbing. These are also wonderful for folks who might have a rotator cuff tear, very common in people, older adults. There's a ridiculously large statistic of folks over 80 who have rotator cuff tears. They may not be able to really get their arm up and over the wheel, and this is one way that they could drive with their other hand very safely. Again, you're not allowed to drive with any of this adaptive equipment without having it on your license. So what we're doing is we're training people, we're getting them comfortable with it, we're teaching them how to parallel park and do 3-point turns, and then they have to head to DMV and take a road test and show the state that they are safe with it, and then it becomes a restriction on their license. So whenever you are modifying gas, brake, or steering, you need to have that on your license.
And you would walk someone through until they develop a level of comfort so that they could do that.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely.
And when you mentioned the evaluation piece and you mentioned the physician's referral, but it's not covered by insurance usually.
No, unfortunately not. Medicare actually specifically denies any charges related to driving. Their stance is that driving is a privilege and not a necessity, and that's actually what the state calls it, your driving privilege, okay? And for that reason, they deny it. So a lot of my clients are coming and paying out of pocket. The exception to that is those who've been in a motor vehicle accident and have a disability, or those who have been injured at a job and now they're under workman's comp. Sometimes we can get those paid. There is a new development just this year. The Hartford Insurance Company has agreed to pay up to $100 for a driving evaluation for their insurance holders. So that's a new trend that we're hoping will spread to other insurance companies. They're starting to see how important it is and how much sense it makes to see that their drivers are safe in the beginning rather than paying out for accidents later.
Yeah, I imagine you also probably have contact with the Motor Vehicles Medical Review Board.
We do. I work very closely with them. And actually, some of our clients are referred directly from them. If maybe someone's been involved in an at-fault accident, they might have gotten out of the car and looked confused, or the situation of the accident looks like maybe it was a gas brake confusion or something like that, that may be a continuing problem, the police will often refer that to the medical unit. And then the medical unit will give them the choice to see a driving rehab specialist.
Well, I imagine that not only do you get referrals from physicians or from medical review board, but I imagine, as I said earlier, that families want to make sure that someone is safe.
Many of our folks come from families who aren't sure. And a lot of times I'll have a family member lives in California and their mom lives in New Jersey, and they're not sure how they're doing. And so they will actually take the the opportunity to make an appointment and have mom checked out, so that they will have peace of mind and know what's up.
And you mentioned counseling, and I think I sort of went on to another question, but I imagine when you realize that someone is a risk, that probably is a very important responsibility in terms of counseling them as to what their options are.
And I'll tell you what, retiring from driving is a very difficult process for a lot of folks. Driving is a big piece of your independence, and it's a big piece of who you are, and it's very difficult to give it up. So there's a lot of issues surrounding that, and one of the issues that we need to be better at in New Jersey that we all know is that we need better options for folks once they stop driving. It's very difficult in some parts of our state to get around if you're not driving. So, I do a lot of counseling looking at what's available to people. So, we'll question them. Where are you? What town are you living in? What kinds of options are there for you in your town? Some towns have town buses that will take people. Some counties have buses. But I have put together a transportation services guide for folks that live near me, where I work in Bergen County. So this lists a lot of the different transportation available in the area. And we will review that with seniors and with their caretakers as well, to make sure that they're not isolated, because that's a really important piece too. You don't want people to be isolated.
Right.
I honestly think that there's a lot of seniors who know that they're not safe and should stop driving, but maybe they're not making that decision because they don't see any other options.
Right, I imagine that would be the case. I mean, we've talked about alternative driving programs a lot when we've done the safe mobility at any age, and I think that that is key, and the idea that there are volunteer programs and there are as you said, municipal and county programs, which is why we always refer people to county programs. But I think it's really nice because I can see that AAA allows somebody in their home to kind of do their self-assessment, and so I think it kind of feeds well into, I've recognized this problem for myself, and how can an OT or a certified driving specialist help me? So do you do programs together?
We do. I am actually involved in CarFit. I've done many CarFits with AAA. Wonderful program. And so we're able to show people some simple gadgets there, and then maybe, if they need more help, we'll see them later.
You brought another device.
I did, and this one I'll show you as well. This is a CarFit option also, where we always have this at CarFit. It's called a handy bar. And what the handy bar does is it hooks into the latch where your car door closes. So not the open door, but the fixed piece of your car. And then it gives you a handle right where you want it when you want to stand up, because that's one of the hardest things for folks is often to get up out of the car, and there's no great place to put your hand. So this is a way to get something exactly where you want it.
So I think it's, as I said, I think it's very helpful, and perhaps there's a way that people should reach out, particularly to AAA, for these programs.
I think that there's a number of programs that we have. The other thing, we talked a lot about adaptive devices. Before we get to adaptive devices, when you go to our website, which is a great place to reach out because you can find the local people there, we actually have a brochure called Smart Features, and that is something that can list features that you can get on your vehicle right now that can address those things. So for instance, if you have that problem turning your neck, before you need an adaptive device, maybe you want to purchase a car that has side view mirror or side view cameras. If you have arthritis, maybe you want remote entry. Those sorts of things, and that lists those types of features that will deal with those issues, and the cars that have them. But you can look on our website to find out where the local ones are, or call your local AAA office to ask for someone to come talk to you about CarFit or one of our programs, and they'll refer you to our public affairs department.
So when you say call and ask somebody to come, you mean at a group site?
At a group site, yes.
Okay.
So if you're interested.
Not going to come to my house.
No, you're not going to come to our house. But if a member calls us and say they want to do an evaluation, we have a lot of CarFit techs in our office. So we'll offer to have you come to our office, and we'll help you with that as well.
Okay, but it's nice to know that you would also go to a church organization or to a senior center or to a municipal building who wants to do a special program for older drivers. So I
We've
think
done
it's
all of those.
It's all of those. And while, as Beth said, there aren't a lot of certified driving rehabilitation specialists in New Jersey, but it is nice to see that you work together. And so I think that's very important. So what would be, if you wanted to say, you know, a concern for a family member or a neighbor who's worried, what would you suggest they do?
I always suggest that they use AAA as a great resource, and that they go to whoever it is that they have concerns about and go, you know, I just got my AAA magazine, I just saw it on TV, and I saw this really great resource. I was going to do it, will you do it with me? I personally have done RoadWise Review, and I learned things, because we all do. We learned how to drive 20 years ago, 40, you know, however many it is. And so there's always new things. So it's a great way to have that conversation and not put them on the spot because you're doing it with them, or you're learning something too.
And Beth?
Well, obviously, I'm kind of partial to sending people for driving rehab evaluations.
Okay.
But
But I would imagine staying physically fit and having
oh,
good balance.
absolutely. I think it's really important for seniors to keep up with certain things like their eye doctor evaluations. I can't tell you how many people I see who have not been to the eye doctor for quite some time,
Yeah.
and I realize they have cataracts. They no longer meet the state minimum for vision. So definitely keeping up with your eye doctor appointments, making sure that you're physically fit, taking an exercise class, or at least trying to do something in your own home, right? Some just
do a lot of
basic
stuff.
stretching and,
Right.
and keep walking, keep moving. You know, if you don't use it, you do lose it.
Well, I think this is just wonderful information for our viewers, regardless of their age and regardless of who's driving them and who they're driving. So I really appreciate you both being here. Aging Insights is produced by the New Jersey Foundation for Aging. To give us feedback on this show or to make donations to the foundation for future programs, please go to our website, which is www.njfoundationforaging.org, or call our office at 609-421-0206. We want to remind you to find out about senior services and programs in your area, to contact your local county office on aging. You'll see their listing on our website, or you may call the state hotline number, which is 1-877-222-3737. Thank you for watching this episode of Aging Insights, and remember, aging is everyone's business.